Hi everyone, it's Yvette Le Blowitz from spiritgirl.com and welcome to the Spirit Girl Talk Show podcast. I'm super excited to be here with you today and with our very special guest, Krista Nerestant, who is the founder of Selfish Lifestyle, and she is now officially an author. Congratulations, Krista, on the launch of your brand new book, Indestructible, The Hidden Gifts of Trauma. It's an honor to have you on the podcast show. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. And it's wonderful to be here.
Krista, before we get into your book and dive into your book, are you happy to share a little bit about yourself, your journey, and to tell us more about what inspired you to want to empower other people to be strong? Because you have a saying, which is, it's simple. The world is a better place when we are strong.
Correct. Yes. So my name is Krista Nerestant, and I am the owner and facilitator of Selfish Lifestyle, where I serve as a spiritual medium and psychic, as well as a neuro-linguistic life coach and trauma healing coach, trained in the satir method of therapy, where I serve the mental and emotional body. So my purpose really in creating Selfish was to keep it simple, to put yourself first, to put your your self-care priority. When things are going wrong outside, it is important to come back home to you and understanding how we are responding and how we're taking responsibility and responding to our circumstance. And it's always about putting yourself first so that you can always be to your best and highest good on all levels. So I work with the four bodies: your mental body, your emotional body, your spiritual body, and your physical self. And they all work together. So you can't negate one or the other. So it's always about being in balance, being in harmony, and being in alignment.
Wow. And now tell me, I read that you are originally from the Philippines, and then you moved to the States.
Right. Yes.
What was it like growing up in the Philippines and then transitioning to the US?
So growing up in the Philippines, and I've said it before too. It's like, oh, it's hilarious because if you read my book, Indestructible, The Hidden Gifts, a lot of the traumas happen in the Philippines as a child. But it also reminds you of how resilient a child is, right? And this is what inspired me to write the book, was because a lot of these traumas that I had experienced was from, 5 years old to all the way up to, my early 20s, actually. So, but for some reason, I was always finding a light at the end of the tunnel, or the positive side of things, right? And honestly, growing up in the Philippines, and you could probably relate to this being in Australia, but it was very nature driven. And so I had if everything else failed, right? People failed me, my adults failed me, the family failed me. I had a tree to run to, or I had a beach to run to, or I had like patch of grass to like kind of like get lost in. And just the culture. The culture is very much into, you know, um, into self-awareness, quite honestly, and spiritual. Though I was raised Catholic, it was more spiritual than that dogma of Catholicism, though that did come later on as I got older.
Wow. And when you went to the US, obviously you would have been very interesting to some children, really fascinated. How old were you when you relocated?
I was 11 turning 12.
Oh, wow.
So it was at that prime of my, that point in your life. I believe that you're curious, your brain is developing, your prefrontal cortex is continuing to form and develop. And so I was very curious. I was an avid reader, so I loved reading. And a lot of my favorite books back then were Sweet Valley High. So this is all in the book. And so like I had this whole idea of what America was supposed to be like. Yeah, I mean, coming from the Philippines, and it was a rude awakening for me when I like landed in Newark, New Jersey, which was like the urban jungle, right? Here I am thinking it's white picket fences with like the beautiful colonial home. Dropped off in like the tightest like block streets with like double parked and like apartment buildings like right next to each other, right? So I was like, what is this, right? But again, we took it a stride. My family and I, we took it a stride, and we adapt. So having been able to move really showed me how to adapt and shift in life, and again, how to gain a better perspective.
Yeah, wow. How to gain a better perspective. And when it comes to your own self-love journey, was there a pivotal moment when you were like, right, I need to practice self-care or self-love, but it's just not all about beauty. It's not about superficial vanity. Like, it's not a luxury. It goes well beyond that. Because I know you love to visit spas as well,
Right.
or create a spa experience at home. But how did you discover that self-care goes beyond, because I always say it goes well beyond the skin. Like,
Okay.
it's when you're taking care of yourself, whether that's getting a massage or whether that's a bath or whether that's yoga
Yeah.
or breathing. It's even a facial, to me, when it's a natural organic facial, is working way more on just my skin and outer appearance. It's working on my like heart and soul and
We are connected.
emotional being.
Right. And so this is actually what my one of the things I give to my clients. Anytime you are getting a treatment, it's not just about the treatment. Be aware and be present. How many times do you get a massage and they're doing the physical manipulations and your mind is elsewhere. Your mind is thinking about, what happened prior to you walking in, and this is like anything, even with yoga, that's why they always say leave once you get into the room and you're a mat, leave everything behind, right? But it is work and it is accountability, right? Because it is very important. The I realized when I started doing a lot of spa work, again in a superficial level, was because I was in survival mode, right? And that's what inspired me to write the book. Was I when I came out of the spiritual closet at 32 years old, um, and I started seeing clients. I there was the thought that came in every single time I would finish with a client was, how can you help others if you have not yet healed, right? And as a practitioner, I took that seriously. I'm very I hold myself accountable if I'm saying I do help others. So I had to then step back and I said, okay, how do I go beyond survival mode? How do I go beyond the superficial, right? And really heal so that I'm not projecting nor am I deflecting when clients are giving me their stories, or things are coming up from that from from that energy sense. And so when I started unpacking my past and unpacking my trauma, I realized, oh wow, like I was doing a lot of survival mode instincts, right? Which is, okay, I'm gonna go get a massage and then I'm gonna go hit the ground running. 3 weeks later, I'm back on that table. and um and and as I've said, now I recognize that I can take a spa anywhere now. Now I can turn a bath into a spa. I can turn the beach into a spa. I can turn walking my dog as a spa, right? Because it's not just now about walking, just doing the act. It's about being present and breathing in the air and recognizing what is happening. Am I feeling the sunshine? Am I feeling the wind? Am I seeing the vibrancy of the leaves, or the very moment that's around me? I'm aware of the rest of the people and the rest of the dogs, right? So, um, and that's the journey. That's the journey always, is to continue to be aware and grow, and layers of it. It's awesome.
Yeah, I love that. When you spoke about being present and being aware, that's something I'm really grateful for learning because of my background. My dad's Aboriginal, and I grew up knowing we were one with the earth, one with Mother Nature and the energy and the elements. And so I can feel a sense, even when I'm driving in the car, connection with like the trees and the rocks and just the clouds and the sun. And it's a really empowering and powerful place to be when you become aware of everything around you and the abundance.
Yes.
Sometimes we think we have this lack mentality, and even in a pandemic, but the abundance of Mother Earth and energy and love and nature and beauty is all surrounded by us.
It is.
Yeah, it really is. And
And
it's only when you notice.
right. And it doesn't negate that we are human. All right. So we will have these thoughts. We will have these negative dialogue. We always have. We're male. We're male and feminine energy in one. Where we have all the elements within us. So we have this. The positive and negative all around. It's a matter of understanding both, right, and processing. Right. So again, it's not like, oh, well, that's just you, because I get this a lot. Oh, it's just, this is your world. Well, I said, no, this is not my world. It's everybody's world. Like the air I breathe is the same as yours. The land I breathe is the same as yours. And again, it's not about judging everybody's journey, but if you're curious to that, and how to overcome stress, or overcome unhealthy habits or unhealthy ways of things or behaviors. It's a lot of being aware of, like, what are my resources that are around me, because you have so many. There is an abundance of resources, and so cool. Like, that's the gift.
Yeah, I love that. That's the gift. Because I loved your title where it says selfish, like
Yeah,
self as in SELF, and
right,
then the ish lifestyle, because you really present self care as it isn't selfish to do.
correct.
And I know that you're big on energy.
Hmm.
And during the pandemic, what I've discovered is you can do two things. You can focus on everything that's going wrong,
Mm,
just turn the news on and they'll be able to tell you that. Or you can focus on, like, instead of tuning into, say, the negative energy, the negative uh, news or whatever, you can switch that and just focus in on, say, like this podcast show that you're listening to, or your book,
yeah,
um, or some feel good music, or like you mentioned, looking at the nature. You can really tune your frequency, can't you? Even in these challenging global times.
indeed. And again, that's why I am always, my message is always about, your self power. you know you choose what to surround yourself with. Who holds the remote control, right? Who decides what to put in their music list, in their Apple list, or whatever content you have there. What books to read, what shows to watch, what movies to be in, and what narratives you want to be surrounded with, right? So it's important that we take our power back. Always be in your power in whatever situation or circumstance you are in, whether it's at a dinner party, or it's in a rally or a political standoff, right? Always be in your power, again, with maintaining the stance that you are not here to, again, annihilate or extinguish somebody else's existence, right? They have every right to exist as much as you do. And again, the dialogue and communication just needs to be open without being swayed. Be firm, and it's a gentle balance. It's a gentle balance. Just, me and my husband were just like obsessed with trees all of a sudden. Like, everything we're seeing is like, We just bought this gorgeous piece of like this gold tree, and it was just so magnificent. And he keeps seeing trees everywhere, and I was like, well, that's really, even in spiritual and yoga or any energy based modality, be like the tree, right? Be strong and grounded, but also beautifully bloomed and extended to the divine. And that's with anything that we do, and that's how you keep your power, so you're still flexible, so you can't break, but rooted, that you don't get pushed around.
I love that. Rooted so you don't get pushed around. And I can truly resonate when you talked about you have the power, like you have the remote control.
Yeah.
And I don't watch TV, and I don't even have a Netflix account. I haven't even watched Netflix. People will go, "What?"
Oh,
But I seriously am big on I control what I watch. Obviously, I'll only watch feel good movies. I will not watch any movies that are killing either a human in it or a person. I think as much as James Bond has been my like kind of action movie, but I won't listen to songs that are of suicide, of death, of telling someone to end their life, or of hate. And I feel that just keeps my like feel good vibes, because energy really open to love and light. And so what I got really good at, Krista, and maybe you can share some more of this with our listeners, is I discovered when I tuned in to how I felt, whether that be something I eat, something I watched or consumed or looked at, I could get very clear on, okay, that's made me feel really good. Okay, that makes me feel sick. Okay, I feel really icky and yucky. Ooh, that's just stressed me out. Like, so I tune into everything, and I try to have feel good colors in my house, or feel good, or tuning into things that make me feel good. Do you believe it's really important for our listeners to start tuning in more to how they are feeling, and feeling in the body, and feeling in the spirit, feeling in the energy, feeling in the feeling?
Of course, of course. I mean, that's the basis. That's the foundation of selfish lifestyle, right? Is understanding that you're a spiritual being having a human experience. um, it's very important that everything you're experiencing, whether that is, the education that you have, the family you're born into, the job, the roles that you have as a parent, as a sister, as a sibling, that's all part of the human experience, right? But first and foremost, you're a spiritual being, you're energy. You are an energetic being. And so, shift the frequency. If we where we are currently, if we're tuning into ourselves and we're like, we're not happy here. Okay. Which then allows you to then, okay, what are the choices that I have? The choices I have is either to move left, right, front or back, or stay. Right. And I'm also a big believer of like everything is meant to happen, right? And it is you have to decide, always a choice of decisions, you know, um, for you to decide how you want to proceed. That's your power. That's everybody's power. So it kind of also holds, and I will get a lot of flack for this. It's like, oh, so you think I chose this life, this misery, and and you have to take the responsibility and accountability that you are a co-creator of your circumstance. You can't control your boss. He's a dick or he's an asshole or the political like stuff like that. But what you can do is control, the decision and the choice of what you are gonna do about it. Right. So yes, I'm very big on energy. I'm very big on how it makes you feel, because the emotional body is your alarm. That's your intuition. That's the seat of intuition. But as a medium and as a psychic, it's there's you this is what I teach, is understanding the human ego and also the spiritual part of you. There's both. You have to, it's not about getting rid of the ego, it's about understanding the ego, right? but understanding it from the higher frequency, from a higher level of being, what they would say your God source or your love source, your harmony source, right? Because no matter what, that's within you. People just forget. They focus on the negativity, they focus on the bad instead of, wait a minute, beyond all of that, I'm here, I'm existing, and I have breath in my life. That means I can do something about it. So, yes, I'm always about, bringing that spirit up so that we can tackle whatever it is to tackle that we are experiencing here in the human world, in this health realm.
I love that. I really love your words of wisdom because it was empowering. We recently just had a women's rally where sadly women know of other women or family members who have lost a loved one through domestic violence.
Mhm.
And we know that there are women still staying with men who are doing domestic violence, and they're trying to have an empowering message of you have to take action, and you really, as hard and difficult, and every situation is unique, but
Mhm.
at least the messaging for the younger generation is you really got to take care of yourself, and if someone's harming you and you're unsafe in your place, it is time to take action. It's time to make changes and reach out for the help.
Right.
Reach out for that help. Ask for that help.
Yeah.
So I love how you are empowering women and all people in choosing and understanding, not playing 100% the victim game, but understanding you are a co-creator, but you have the power to take back your power and to get yourself into a better, safer place. And that needs to continue to be the messaging.
Right.
And yeah.
Because it's important, I don't want my message to be misconstrued as like, oh, she's arrogant or anything like that. It's not about that. It's about, when I say when you said like don't play the victim, it's if you play the victim role, it's not gonna get you anywhere. Now, don't get me wrong. You you have been a victim. So now we accept that, we understand that, we realize that, okay, so what's next? How do we then proceed, right? And that's why, again, you always have to have the balance of your prefrontal cortex and the self-confidence and the courage to have. Now these gifts that I call, right, the foundations that Selfish is standing is, you are a spiritual being having a human experience. You are equipped with everything you could ever need to overcome. Okay. And your perspective becomes your reality. 3, if you have that in your back pocket, it allows you to go, okay, where's my perspective at? What's my perspective like right now? And what is it that I need? What tools do I have right now, and what I need as a resource to overcome? Because if I believe that I have it, then I can certainly get through it, right? And those tools can just be, a 5-minute breathing technique, calling into that lower chakras, and I'm calling into that power source, right? Courage, faith, belief, and these are all self-love. How can you determine how somebody treats you or respect you if you don't do that for your own, right? If you don't take the action of self-love for your own self. Everybody loves themselves differently. How can I expect others to treat me, from how I want to be treated, if I'm not treating that with myself, if I'm not putting myself first, if I'm not being selfish, right? Um, and again, it really does kind of put a spin on the whole accountability and self-awareness and self-responsibility. But again, based on love, based on power, based on your on the God self, because that is your right. That is your right. That's your birthright. Nobody can take that away from you. It doesn't matter how many movies you watch or how many news you've seen that, degrades your past or whatever, take it. Okay. I don't have to hold on to it. Decide. Do you want to hold on to it? I'm now aware. It's now in existence in my world. I have a choice to decide. Do I want to hold on to it? Do I want to let it go?
Yeah, I love that. I have a choice to decide whether I want to hold on to it or let it go. And I too have had situations where I could go, oh, poor me, poor me. I lived in a shipping container. Like, how many people do you meet that lived in a shipping container? Now I can laugh about it, but at the time I couldn't. But, I could have really like gone, the world's out against me. Poor me, poor me. And, you can do that after a marriage breakup. You can do that after anything goes wrong, whether you get redundant, whether you lose a business.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you can just really wallow in poor me, poor me. But what I've learned is if you can take the lesson out of it and grow from it and spin it in a way that it's like, okay, well, this is like I've experienced that now. So when I go, as an example, to a hotel which has got a bathtub or the Maldives, I'm super grateful. But sometimes you need to switch that poor me victim and, like you said, take back your power. Yeah. Krista, can I ask, you're currently we're all going into the second year of the global pandemic. I think we're just sort of starting to find our feet, but there's still a lot of restrictions going on. We're rolling out the vaccination globally, but we're still not back at where we were before it hit. So fatigue is setting in. What are some of your self-care rituals or things you've been doing during the pandemic just to help with everything that's going on in the world? And can I ask, did you experience a very heavy energy, very heavy at the start of the pandemic? Because I'm very in tune with energy and I seriously could feel the heaviness.
Indeed. Yeah. So I am what you might call a sensitive. Most people are actually on the spectrum, right? I'm just a little bit more highly sensitive because of what I do as a medium and as a psychic. And if I choose to open my levels to that, actually, when it first happened, I went into a deep meditation state, and I went and I spoke on this on actually on different platforms before, but I went straight to Mother Earth. I said, "What is happening? What is happening?" Because this is global, and I could always depend on Earth, and I could always depend on nature, and understanding her from that level, um and and what I received was like, in a global level, we all need to heal, right? And my book had already came out. um and I was also nervous about that. I was like, oh my god, I had all these plans to have it, live in person. I did get to do it live in person still, though, because I was in New Jersey, and by September, we were able to kind of like gather, and it was outdoors. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful setting. But and that's what I mean. Even in the midst of a very dire situation, the power of manifesting, and if you believe in the idea of really holding positive thoughts, and putting that out into the universe works for you, not negative or positive. It responds to you, right? So yes, I felt the energy in a communal level very low. So which then tells me, as an individual, okay, power up, boundaries up, right? One of the first lessons I also teach is boundaries, and not just regular boundaries with the family, boundaries with job, boundaries with work, right? So there's many different levels of boundaries, but also energetic boundaries, and I had to then recognize, where do I need to take my self-care level now? Do I now, instead of a 5-minute meditation, do I now go for a 10-minute meditation and take that, to account? And holding on to my spiritual practice. I have a spiritual practice, which is, my praying, my meditation, my my stage, my clearing, and again, doing my tarot and being really attuned not only to my energy but to the world. But first and foremost, I have to be attuned to my energy first, respecting that, and then how do I then interact with the rest of the world in a positive level, in a way where it's to my best and highest good, not to only serve myself but to serve the community. But yeah, no, the thing was a lot of healing and a lot of um, to be calm in the midst of the chaos, to be calm in the midst of the chaos, and because if you're in the chaos, within the chaos, how do you expect to come out, right? I always say, oh, I curse, but I'm like, if you're in the shit, if you're in the shit with me, how can you help me out, right? Like we need to rise. We need to rise. And so this continued ability to not negate again the current state. I'm not negating. Oh, I'm not pretending there's no pandemic. We're not pretending that shit isn't bad. What we're doing, however, is recognizing, okay, this is the current situation. What are we going to do about it? What is in our power to make sure that we are going to be okay and that we are going to be intact mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
Wow. Amazing. I thank you for sharing that. I saw an absolute rise of light workers, spiritual teachers. Self-care went through the roof and really elevated like I've never seen before. And people were genuinely interested in spirituality, their physical, emotional, mental well-being. And I really feel that there's been so many incredible people, Krista, along with yourself and all of the psychiatrists and psychologists and coaches and yoga teachers, meditation teachers. Like, I mean, I could go on and on with the list of therapists and counselors, but there's just been such an outpouring, or there was such an outpouring, and there still is, of people who just rose to serve, to help others. And I think for me, that's been one of the most beautiful things in humanity, that I've seen how kind and caring people truly are.
Yes.
And I have
there's more good in the world than bad.
Yeah, there really is. And it's like, if someone was out there listening now and really struggling, I would say help is out there for you. Help is here for you. Ask for help. You can get through anything surrounded by the right people. You can get through anything, whether that's I got goosebumps saying that, but like I just the universe is always working for you. So Krista, you've got a young daughter, 5 years old. In the media, there's been so many things going on with women, sadly. It's been horrific. I won't go into the details, the glory details. We'll keep it more on a positive note. But as a mum, and navigating your way through this whole social media, what I loved about Women's International Day was there was a really great sharing of empowering women, strong women, and women who were on stages or doing lives, but generally it was because they had either built something, they were trying to serve people, like it went well beyond their looks. And whilst at the moment there's a lot of like programming on, if you look pretty, you can get ahead in life. What I loved about International Women's Day for a young child was it went well beyond your looks.
Right.
Is that really important for you with a young daughter at 5 years old, that you teach her values? Like, she's more than just her body and looks, and she doesn't have to grow up to be an influencer and pose in bikinis. And if that's fine, if that's your little daughter wants to do that, or you're a girl who is fascinated by that because you're young, but did you love International Women's Day, and how did that the diversity I found was phenomenal. I loved the diversity. I loved the coming together of communities, and I loved the empowering women that were really showing up.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, having a daughter, and she's biracial. She's half Filipino, half Black. My husband is Haitian descent, hence the Nerestant, the French last name. And so it's very important for us to go beyond her skin tone, her beyond her curly hair and her physical attributes, because you know to us, me and my husband's foundation as a family unit is our values, right? And again, we try to teach her as much as we can without controlling her, without dimming her light, but also just being present with her. And and respect is so important. Respect, um respect, discipline, and self-awareness. Even at 5, I teach her self-awareness, and try not to um do like the way I grew up, right? Being in the Philippines, in that culture, it's a child is not, is meant to be seen but not heard, right? Like that's the context. And and I like to let her have a voice, and let her understand that she exists, and that we as parents are there for her. We literally are her ways of getting to something, without enabling. Does that make sense? Right. So there's a fine line between helping and enabling. And I fall into that also. Trust me. I'm one of 5, I'm the oldest. So I did a lot of that growing up. And so I am the way I am today. But, but yeah, it's very important that we do limit her social media, or big on activities, on physical. She's very physical, so she's in gymnastics, she's in dance, she's in acting theaters right now. So we are an active family, not just in a mental level, but in a physical level. And yeah, yeah. So
She must be so proud of you. She must be so proud of you that your book has been published, because I can see your book behind you. Like, she must be super excited. Your family must be so proud of you, and your friends and your community, that your book is out. I just felt such a great role model you are to her, empowering her to have the voice, enabling her, but you're not dictating what you should be or what you should do, which is really beautiful.
but I think our purpose as parents, is somebody's looking for you for guidance. Obviously that's a parent, right? That's the role, is to show them the many perspectives and the many different views of things. And without again, without diminishing their light, or diminishing their truth.
Yeah, wow. Now I want to go into your book a little bit. When you wrote your book, you really had to open up, be vulnerable. For someone who might have like stories of trauma, abuse, like just terrible, terrible things that happened to them, but has shaped who they are today, or maybe they just want to share things that they do to feel good from within, and they want to put a pen to paper and sit down and write. What are some tips? Like, how did you carve out time to write your book? What did that look like?
Oh man. So I am not the okay. So here we go. I am not that author that will like sit there and write a page a day, and in a year you will have a book, right? I was never disciplined enough to do so. So I came to ask, okay, what resources do I need? How am I going to be able to meet the deadlines and everything? And again, that's also knowing who I am. I am that person that if you give me a 6-month deadline, guess what? For the first 4 months, I'm fucking twiddling my thumbs. The last 2, I'm like, okay, right? I'm like, my husband is so anal. He's probably like, oh my God, you're so crazy. That's who I am, right? And I know who I am. But because of this, I did recognize that I signed up for a writing course where you have to bring a piece every single time. And so I would that's how I did it. That's how I did it. I would show up and make sure that I was accountable for that piece. And so I would do that. I also signed up, of course, and I also was part of a writing group, where you would be able to show up with a piece and there would be a discussion. So there's so many resources out there, and again, you have to know who you are and what you will be able to tolerate and what you need, right? Because I certainly wasn't gonna half-ass it, right? I wanted to really present something that was worthy of people's times and people's energy and mine. My time is important, right? So so yeah, no, that's what I suggest. To go look out for writing resources, classes, groups that will help you in on your journey. Yeah.
Wow, that's so great. I loved how you shared about the writing group because that's such great support, isn't it? Because when you're writing, you're a bit like, oh, what do you think about this or that? Or just to have that support. And I love how you need a deadline to drive you. I've heard a lot of authors say that
Yeah.
they're, if they've got that deadline and they have to submit the manuscript in, that it really drives them.
And there's days where I will sit down, and I would just literally sit down and I can't stop, and it just flows, right? So I'm also truthful to that. I'm also aware of that, and I'm also honoring that. So everything is about honoring for me. It's like honoring where I am, exactly where I am at the moment. And if I feel like shit at the moment, okay, allow that, be aware of that, and be truthful of that, and honor that, and then okay, how do I then want to proceed, right? So even with the moments of tunnel visions, right? That's okay, as long as it doesn't become unhealthy, where you're not, where it goes to the next level. But yeah, I know. Yeah, that's just how I.
Yeah, wow. And with your title, I know one of the titles either come to you or titles you're like, oh, should I do that? Should I do that? What about that title? You can ask other people. But what is the real meaning behind your book title? If someone looked at your book title and you wanted to describe how you came up with that title or kind of the meaning behind it.
Right. So Indestructible, came forward to me was because life really tried to knock me down multiple times, many different experiences. Again, as I've said earlier, at the podcast, I've had my trauma since I was 5, and it all went all the way up to early 20s. And I'm talking about heavy traumas where we're talking about physical abuse, mental abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, and all that level. And also having to maintain overcoming deaths, overcoming coming out of spiritual closet and being, ostracized in that level, right? So there's so much happened, in one little lifetime, and when I started actually sharing my story with my people, they were very curious as to like like how are you okay? Like how are you not like, because statistically, right, I am an anomaly, right? Statistically, I shouldn't be where I am. Right. And I'm talking about I've had psychologists, I've had therapists, I've had people in the mental health industry just looking at me like, you're not the norm. You're not the norm in how you have overcome and risen to this level from the past. And I'm like, it's not that I'm not the norm. It's just that we're too busy just surviving, and we're just continuing, and quite honestly, I don't feel that there's enough stories out there that is being shown in this level, because our stories are meant to be empowering. It's meant to be inspiring. Traumas exist. They exist, and traumas are not comparable. My heavy trauma can be as heavy as to somebody who may seem like, oh come on, like that's not big. No, trauma is trauma. it hits you to that level, then yeah, you have to be aware of that. But at the same time, you have to be aware also of the power that you have to continue to move forward. So Indestructible, that's how Indestructible came about, was because, I really realized after writing my story, my book, and there's a lot of crying, right? There's a lot of ugly tears and ugly crying because, it really is unpacking and rehashing all of this as an adult. But I'm talking about the 5-year-old Krista, the 6-year-old Krista, the 8-year-old, the 12-year-old, right? And as an adult in hindsight, healing that inner child, because the person that's triggered is not the 30 or not the 40-year-old, it's the 8-year-old that lives inside me, right? So that means, okay, I have to heal that part of me. There's many parts of you, right? So I just kept going on top, and I said, oh, you know what, this is Indestructible. And at the end, the hidden gifts of trauma really grasped me, that was like my focal point, because I like to play on perspectives. I like to play even with my company, right? Selfish, everyone's like, that's so bad. I was like, no, we need to take that back, right? Because no one would usually put gifts and trauma together. But again, I am grateful for, in hindsight, after healing, you won't get the gifts until you decide to heal. And that's the purpose of this book, is to really advocate for healing, to advocate to truly get the help that you need if need be, right? To truly sit down and process. And there's no journey. I mean, there's no deadline to your journey, your healing journey, and there's no beginning or end. You could start today, take a break. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I did. Like I would go for a whole stunt of like, yeah, let's heal. It's like, okay, I'm gonna take a break. And but now I honor it. I honor it all. When I'm going through a certain difficulty or a challenge, I kind of look forward to it, because I know that it's growth that will be at the end. Growth and leveling up and expansion is the gift of that challenge, of that experience.
Wow.
That's why it's called the hidden gifts of trauma.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. And sorry to hear about all of your traumas. However, by healing, they're now your gifts, and your book now, Indestructible, is showing that despite whatever the trauma is you experience, because it's so unique and individual, that you can heal from it, and then you really can live a fulfilling life. But it's only through the healing part that you can get to the other side. Because do you feel that, did you experience sort of trauma, if you try and not think about it or deal with it, it doesn't go away? Like, but when you confronted it or decided to process it, then you could begin. Because I know I've spoken to people, and I know myself, even with my own self, that if I tried to suppress trauma, it doesn't ever go away. And there could be a trigger. Like, I remember my sister, as an example, sadly was in a car accident, and I was only 17, and I was first on the accident site. And that evening, like, she went into intensive care unit on life support, broke her hips, had acquired brain injury and certain things. But there was a lot of trauma as a young 17-year-old.
Yeah.
And I remember someone saying, oh, you could get post-traumatic stress disorder. And I was like, oh, bullshit. No, like, I was this tough little 17-year-old, mental health and all that crap. And how could anybody get that being first on a accident site kind of thing? Because I was the first one who then told my mom and my dad, and there with the ambulance and things like that. So I had to step up. But what I learned, Krista, was that if I tried to not think about it and just sort of like, it's happened, whatever, I've gotten on with it, but I was having to grieve the loss of my sister, because when she came out, she had to learn how to speak again, walk again, and it's a miracle she's alive. But it was only through the processing and the healing, mind you, that I did about 20 years later, I think, 10 years later.
We're busy surviving, right?
Yeah, we just push it aside.
Right.
It's happened. Move on.
In that moment, you were 17. Your reptilian brain, your amygdala is like, we got to survive. We're a survival species. That's what we do. That's the human beings. That's what the ego is there for. It's like, we got to survive. We got to, figure out how do we go fight or flight? Do we go to fetal position, or do we bulldoze through life, right? And in most cases, we will bulldoze. We will survive. It's a matter of like, okay, now that we've survived, how did we survive, and are we thriving in fulfillment after after we have survived the experience, right? That's important to recognize, is because my biggest babe, my biggest culprit, and my biggest abuser was my father. And I survived him. So I had to recognize, okay, and also, my parents, like having a mom who abandoned me, and, who was very, who wasn't really a great role model in regards to the emotional intelligence of as a woman, an independent woman, a strong woman. In hindsight, now after all that healing, I recognize her power in the situation she was in. But I couldn't do that when I was watching her at 8 years old, right? And I had to honor that 8-year-old. But I also had to honor my truth as a young woman who was like, well, I'm not taking that shit from no one. Right. But the reason why I'm always talking about healing is because that's the only way to thrive, is beyond survival mode, beyond the bandages. We're just band-aiding, right? We're just trying to band-aid when we really have to fix the source.
Yeah, I love that. We're just band-aiding, but we really have to fix the source. And it's the healing. What are some things, if someone was trying to heal from some trauma, what are some things that they could do with you, apart from reading your book? And you have workshops, and you also have online events and things. But what's one thing today, if they go, you know what, I got abused sadly by someone in my family or community, or which is so terrible, but there is, like, your story is going to now resonate with so many people tuning in who maybe were abused as a child, or even now as an adult, whether that's through the workplace or at home or community. What would be one step first in the healing process?
Is taking a moment of quietness and hugging yourself and loving yourself, and really recognizing that at the end of the day, you are your own champion. You are your own champion. Be that mother that your child self needed. Be that champion that the woman at the workplace needed. Be the cheerleader, right? That 12-year-old needs, right? Or what you need currently, right? Like like love yourself, hug yourself, recognize the beauty that you are in whatever circumstance you're in. Recognize your power. Take a moment and recognize your power. And when you do that, when you tune into yourself, when you tune into your emotional body, your spiritual body, your physical, and even your mental body, notice what comes in, what guidance comes in. The guidance could be as easy as, hey, yeah, pick up that book or read that book, or call that friend, or take a nap, right? Like these are all like they don't have to be mind-blowing experiences, but the fact that you have decided to just take the moment and tune everything else out and tune in, coming back home to you, doing your check-in, it's very important. And it's yours. Your feelings are yours. So own it. Own it.
Wow, that was just such incredible words of wisdom. I was gripping onto every word you were saying there. So empowering and so beautiful. And I nearly feel like giving you a virtual hug. And yeah, and we should give our audience, if you're tuning in right now, either on the YouTube channel Spirit Girl or my YouTube channel Yvette Le Blowitz, or on the audio right now.
Try it. Try
Do what Krista said. Just give yourself a hug.
It does wonders, and I use this technique all the time. I share it with my clients, I share it with the community, and I share it with myself. I mean, all these techniques that I give and I do, I've used it on me, right? And it really does work. And it's sometimes as simple as that. And don't negate the simple things. Don't negate it.
No, I love it, because I have a lot of women who reach out who don't feel enough. And maybe something that happened in their life, they've experienced shame, which I have too. Or maybe they're just using social media at the moment and they don't feel like they're beautiful enough. They don't feel like they've got the biggest lips or the really firm butt, or cheeks up, or like they're feeling like they're not having the perfect hair, the perfect makeup. When someone's not feeling enough, what would you say to that person listening in, that girl, that the woman, the boy, or the man, whoever it might be tuning in, if they're not feeling enough? What could be one thing you could share with them to help them on their journey, self-love journey?
Yeah. So, my quote that I mentioned before, your perspective becomes your reality. And again, as I've said, there's always, frequencies and shifting and shifting your perspectives. So if you are saying you are not enough, then obviously on the other end of that, there is a part of you that knows inherently that you are enough. Because how can you say you are not enough if there wasn't a resource there, if there wasn't a source there to begin with? Does that make sense? So it's about reminding yourself and being aware of yourself, of your light, of your power, that, where's my perspective? And do I want to continue to feed this perspective? Right?
Wow.
It's very, and again, this is your journey. What I'm just proposing is playing with the perspective that, what is on the other end of that? What is another end of that? What if you are enough, more than enough? Let's play with that idea. Right? Whenever we're feeling a certain something, go on the other perspective.
Love that. Love that.
How that makes you feel.
Yeah, beautiful.
Oh, it's different. Oh, that does make me feel better. Okay, what else? What else can you make me feel better? Right? The understanding that again, we will always have a self-dialogue, an internal dialogue. Right? The most important conversation you will have is the one with yourself. The most important conversation you will have is the one with yourself. So how do you want that conversation to go?
Love that. I love that. And I find too, like, if you're not taking enough time out for self-care, and then you obviously go on to Instagram and see all the beautiful pictures or people or whatever it might be, it can also just be a trigger.
Yeah.
Whoa, I need to take time out, one, off Instagram, but two, to take care of my own self so I can feel good and I can show up. And like you say, and remind yourself that you're more than enough. Like, we're so hard on ourselves at times, aren't we? We can be so judgmental. And I've said that we have to stop judging ourselves and others.
Right.
And that's going to be, you know, a path to self-love as well.
Right. Yeah. So it's, me and my family and my group of friends were always laughing at each other because we're very real with each other. And, we're like, it's not, my thing now is like, they used to always call me, you're always judging. I was like, it's not judging, it's assessing. It's assessing self. It's assessing the current state and being aware. Right. And yes, don't be so hard on yourself. Like, my gosh, like whenever I feel a little down, this is a really cool thing. Whenever I feel really kind of like lacking or like lackluster or my energy is a little low, and kind of when I get doubts and insecurities coming in, I remind myself. I go on my website. I go on my reviews, and I remind myself like, you're good. You are helping people. People, people appreciate you, and you appreciate yourself, right? And it's just a great reminder of of boosting my energy up, right? And so if you don't have a book or whatever, put on the dress that you love, that you feel good in. Put that lipstick on, right? You know, I don't know, like go walk around, like you. This is why I'm so big on the power of self. It's like no one knows you more than you. I don't care what doctor. I don't care, if you've had the same doctor since you were a freaking baby, right? Right? No one knows you more than you. No one knows your energy more than you, right? You are the main character of your life. Everybody else are just co-actors, and they're just meant to be there to to accentuate or embody or whatever they are. But ultimately, you are the director, you are the actor, you are the main actor of your life. Own it, use it, be it.
I love it. Own it, use it, be it.
Yeah.
Krista, I could talk to you forever. And that's why I called this a Spirit Girl talk show, about being your own it girl at the spa or in your own life, but really just stepping into your own power and empowering your own self. And I feel like it's just a ripple effect. If we look after ourselves, we are the example for the younger generation, but for other people, the more we fill our own cup up and feel good from within and heal, and make time to heal from traumas and things like that you've expressed, but like that, giving yourself that hug and really nurturing yourself, the better we can feel.
Right.
The better that other people can feel that surround us, because we're all an energy. So what we radiate can really help others as well, and it can uplift someone who else might be just having that bit of a down day, and then you give them that little bit of energy and boost.
Yeah.
So I just love it.
It's so funny because, like, when everybody was hampering on me about selfish lifestyle, and I said, well, yeah, I'm doing it in a selfish manner, really, quite honestly, because if you're good, then I'm good, right? So the more people that I may be able to serve and help and, work together and build a community of empowered community, both men and women, children and adults, and elderly, the more the community rises together, the better, not only for yourself, but for the rest of the world. Right. So yes.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Because I have a saying, it's not about me, it's about we. And when I saw blogging turning to me, it's all about me being the the public figure, or me being that, get into that celebrity status or that public figure. But I decided it's all about we.
Yeah.
And if we can feel good together, like that's such a beautiful thing. And if we can lift each other up as a community, girls, women, like rise each other up, like celebrate the book launch that you've got going on here, share real life stories, but just support each other, then we can really feel it's so inspiring when you get support. Especially as authors, but just as human beings, it's a really nice thing if you've struggled a lot. because I'm all about the underdog as well.
Right.
And if you have struggled and never got anything on a silver platter and never had this really seamless, like I know people who don't have never had to stress out about money because money's been their path. They've had very wealthy family, entrepreneurs. Money and struggle, they have no idea what that is. But then you meet other people, which we all know, there are other struggles that have made us stronger. But I just feel that if there's someone out there in the world, I'm so passionate about this, if there's someone out there in the world who's trying to do good, who's trying to share, we should cheer them on, even if they've got 10 followers or 100 followers. They're the people we want to support. So, Krista, thank you again for sharing your story. I'm so happy and proud of you that your book is launched.
Thank you.
I've got to ask, your family have to be so proud of you, and your community.
They really are. I'm so grateful for the support. They're so supportive, they're so loving, and I'm blessed. I really am blessed in that way.
Yeah, and your readers, you've got people picking up your book now and they're reading it and resonating with it. How does it make you feel?
It's fulfilling. It really is fulfilling, because the purpose of the book, again, is to help others on their healing journey. It's not to dictate how to proceed with your journey, but it's just to advocate that the need to heal. And it really I love hearing and reading the reviews, and and how it has allowed them to um be to honor their experience, and to do that. And then if I was a catalyst to that, great. And I'm grateful to be alongside the journey with you. That really is my purpose, is to be alongside the journey with you.
I love that, Krista. I really love that. I just know how much work goes into writing a book, because I've written self-published It Starts With Me back in 2017, but I know how much effort goes into even just sitting down and getting your thoughts and feelings out into anything, and then the whole editing process, and then the whole book launch and the sharing process, and but also opening up about things that is your, they were hidden secrets, as a hidden secret that was shoved down. I feel really grateful that you've opened up, because you're going to help so many people globally as part of overcoming their trauma and the healing from it, and to know that you're living a very open, vibrant, happy, fulfilling life now. So you've kind of shifted. So after you heal, life just continues to get better and better and better again. So it's just a really empowering story. So thank you again, Krista. Now, how can we stay in contact with you after the podcast show?
You could find me on selfishlifestyle.com. That's SELF, the dash ISH lifestyle.com. My book is there. Everything that I offer is there. I'm also on social media on facebook.com/selfishlifestyle, and Instagram selfish lifestyle approach.
Ah, beautiful. Well, I'll make sure I leave all of the links in this podcast show, so everyone can tune in and stay connected with you and learn more. And I can't wait for everyone to grab a copy of your book. And when they do, #SpiritGirl, #SpiritGirl Book Club, and obviously Selfish Lifestyle, a hashtag away and tag us. I would love also, for all of our listeners tuning in, I really want to know what part of this podcast show really either resonated with you or really just touched your heart and soul? What were the words or what was the message? How has this empowered you? Like, I would really love to know. So leave a comment or take a screenshot of where you're listening to this podcast, and I would love for you to share the podcast show, because the more people we can help to feel better from within, the better that not only we are, but the rest of this world. And this is for not our generation, for generations to come. So thank you again, Krista, for being a guest on the Spirit Girl Talk Show podcast. We will say goodbye to you. Thank you again.
Thank you again so much for having me.
I know. I can't just wait to watch your journey unfold and stay in touch with you. You're an incredible human spiritual being, helping others to heal from trauma. And thank you again. So, Spirit Girl podcast listeners globally, thank you for joining in to this show. I truly hope it has inspired you to heal, overcome your traumas, to stand in your own power. To know your values and to really feel into your own energy and to do what feels right for you. Stay in touch by actually giving yourself that hug.
Yes.
And practice your self-care rituals no matter what, so you can feel good from within and inspire others around you to feel good from within. On that note, subscribe to the podcast show, leave a 5-star rating and review, and to tell someone you love to. And together, let's feel good from within. Bye for now. Bye.